Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, we'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 6 of the anime series, Orange. And holy hell, man. Oh, that revelation at the end. I so called this. I've been speculating about this for some time now, going back and forth with you guys in the comments. Just uber stoked me, this revelation toward the end of this episode between Suwa and Naho, and I'm getting a little ahead of myself, I know. I don't want to forget everything that built up to that throughout the course of this episode, but holy hell, I'm uber excited by that revelation because it's something we have long been speculating. You know, does Suwa have one? Did he get one? And so yeah, I mean, this episode was full of many various emotions, from just the sort of bashfully playful, like I'm smiling with Kakaru and Naho, that gap between them really going away, and they're coming closer and closer together that much faster. He's asking her, between Suwa, Hagita, and myself, who would you most want to be asked out by? And you have Azu and Takako coming over and being like, well, out of us three girls, who would you most want to ask out? And that kind of thing. And they're being sheepish about it, of course, the Japanese way. Their culture is not to be overt in showing sort of, romantic feelings toward each other and everything like that. So it's really adorable seeing them sort of tiptoeing around it and not wanting to come right out with it. And even Suwa's like telling Kakaru, you should have told her. And we see, it's such an interesting thing now with this revelation toward the end of the episode, calling back on all of the things Suwa has been doing. Certainly, he's been led in a certain direction, and he's trying to help. He's trying to bring Kakaru and Naho together. He knows how important this is. It might be the saving grace, the lone saving grace that'll keep Kakaru from killing himself, which it's that much further, revealed to us through the future sort of flashes where they're asking his grandmother, and he left a note behind. He was very upset. He feels responsible for the loss of his mother, who was, as he reveals to Naho, she'd become sort of deranged, I guess you could say. She was suffering mental instability and very much needed help. And it's that much more tragic and heartbreaking because she was ready to seek help. She was going to be going to a new hospital and wanted her son to guide her there. And without him, she'd become very dependent on him. And for all of the weight of the world that would probably have been on his shoulders for it, he didn't have much of a life as a result. And so when he was befriended by Naho and her whole group of friends, of course, he wants to relish in that. He's so happy for a change. He has something else to do. He can get out of the house. He doesn't have to worry in that moment about his mother. And so he very much feels the guilt when he texted her and said he would not be able to make it to usher her to this new hospital for help. It was too much of a weight and burden for her to bear, she felt. And she took her own life. And so you can see, in that exchange between Suwa and Kakaru, why he is so reluctant to, bridge that gap, so to speak, between he and Naho and fall for her. He doesn't want earthly attachments because he doesn't feel like his place in this world is, that much longer for the wind. He doesn't feel like he's going to be around much longer because he just can't escape the sadness, and he can't escape the guilt that is arguably misplaced. You can only be there for someone so much before, it's their final decision whether to live or die sometimes. And that's the sad fact. And it's even that much more of a shame that Naho feels herself to blame because of the letter she got. She feels like had she responded to the letter in kind and done what it had told her specifically on that day, all of this could have been avoided. But I don't think there's anything she could have done that could have made this happen any differently. And it's kind of like, why cry over spilled milk? At this point, it's said and done one way or the other. Rather than wallowing, she really needs to woman up and focus her sights on helping Kakaru in the here and now. And we see by the end of the episode, she's ready to do that. She is overtly texting him and trying to get his attention after having asked him, in that quiet time, that alone time between them when everybody, they said they were all going to be running late so they could get them together and everything like that. And I'm sure Suwa had a lot to do with that. But it does call into question, again, with that revelation toward the end of the episode, is, Naho the only one who has a letter from the future? You never know. Is it only Naho and Suwa now? Is it all of them? Why are Azu and Takako so adamant about helping out as well? How did they just show up in the nick of time when Ueda Senpai and her posse tried to interrupt this, fireworks gazing, this very romantic outlook for Kakeru and Naho, by getting her to, the teacher wants you to lift these boxes all the way up to the attic in the school or whatever it is, or to the roof. How did they show up in the nick of time? Unless maybe they knew something beforehand, or it was just a coincidence, who knows? But that's the whole point. This whole episode is about getting Kakeru and Naho together so they can see these fireworks together. They can spend time together during, the last night of the festival. They can be together instead of, part of a group, and actually have a sort of date of sorts. And it was a very romantic scene, and I was really proud of Naho for not wanting to let her concerns drop, not wanting to let it lie, and wanting to be there as a shoulder for Kakeru to lean on, even if arguably this soured his mood, and it's not until February 15th, the day after Valentine's Day, that he will ride his bike out in front of a speeding truck and end it all. And we know that this follows on from a text that he'll send to Naho, wanting to know who she gave Valentine's chocolates to. She doesn't have to answer him, but he's sorry for whatever he did, something he did that upset her very much, and all this stuff yet to come. And yet in the here and now, it's such of great import for both Suwa and Naho to try to, turn the tide of Kakeru's fate and try to make him relish the happy things in life that he has around him. And it's a question at this point whether they're going to be successful or not. But as I say, by the end of this episode, when Kakeru has, sort of gone silent, he's gone quiet, he's not going to practice anymore, soccer practice, he's not really responding to Naho. Naho needs someone to help, because she can't do this by herself, is very much how she feels, because she feels like she's partially to blame. She didn't do every last little thing in the letter that the letter, suggested or commanded her to do. And anytime she has gone against the letter, whether inadvertently or, by choosing to let her fears sort of get her better judgment and everything like that, she truly feels to blame, and she needs that help. And so, of course, Suwa is who she calls the man, and I just love that final shot where he's like, he cuts her off. He doesn't even let her explain, because he knows all too well. Did you get one too? A letter? And I lost my it was just like, oh, hell yes. We have more going on here than what is at face value. Who knows who else might have letters, if anyone else. But it was such a great sort of relief, that, because two heads are always going to be better than one. And on the other hand, it also led me to suspect, it could be that manifest destiny thing once again I've talked about before, where maybe Kakeru's fate is set in stone, and this is the first burgeoning coming together in that timeline, in that future, between Suwa and Naho. Maybe this is what gets them together. They're trying their best to just prevent Kakeru from wasting his own life, wasting his future and the potential he has. And I love even Hagita. Hagita was the man in this episode, getting right up in Ueda Senpai's face when they sent, Naho to bring those boxes up to the roof, and she's going to try to go to the pool and meet Kakeru and have a moment between them, for herself. And he leads her to the soccer, whatever it was, the cupboard or whatever, and she's totally pissed off about that. It's like, yeah, you're damn right, you bitch, you don't deserve good people if this is the way you're going to be, a good boyfriend and all this kind of stuff. You don't deserve friends. And they're all, just a bunch of bitches to be treating Naho like this, bullying her and all this kind of stuff. And they can have little capacity or little knowledge of the dangers of what's to come, and they're not concerned with that. They're selfish. They're about, doing for themselves and all that kind of stuff. And of course, adding to Ueda's, chip on her shoulder, she's voted as the, whatever it was, lady of the festival or whatever. And Hagita's ticked off because, of course, Azu gave him a single vote, and he only got the one vote, and he just wanted 0 votes. And they're like, oh, they should be dating already and everything. There's no hint of that really in the future. I don't think we've gotten much in the way of knowing whether or not Hagita and Azu are together. But I'd be all for that. I think they'd make a cute couple and sort of playfully adversarial, whatever like that. But just, again, a mesmerizing episode full of emotion from the joy of seeing Kakeru and Naho coming together to the overwhelming pathos and sadness in his loss, the loss of his mother, his dealing with her having, emotional problems and wanting to be there for her as much as he could, but also, especially at this age, wanting a life of his own and relishing in the friendships he had on the day she took her life, and the guilt that has followed on from that for both he and Naho, even though neither of them really are to blame. They couldn't have helped his mother if they'd known. There's only so much you can do, and it would have been probably inevitable that she would have taken her life, if not that very day. It would have only been maybe staved off for a little while if she was that determined to do it. But you never know. At the same time, maybe if he had gotten a letter from himself or from Naho in the future, maybe he could have known to be there for his mother and gotten her the help she needed. It's just very much in tune with that human condition, that frailty of never really being sure whether your choices are going to be for the better or for the worse, and just trying to have the courage to live every day and go through whatever you need to go through and survive, and being very much, that much made the better for it by the people you're surrounded by. If you're fortunate enough to be surrounded by people who are there for you, your family, your friends. Sometimes friends are even closer to you than your own family, that kind of thing. And that's very much what all of these friends are trying to be for Kakeru, and that much more so in Suwa and Naho, knowing that they both have been recruited from the future to try to change the past. And whether or not that'll happen remains to be seen, but just damn. What an episode. And so I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 6 of Orange, if you've seen it as well, if you enjoyed it as much as I did, if it tugged on your heartstrings as much as it did me, and got you stoked with that revelation that Suwa too has gotten a letter, and it's guiding him as much as Naho's is her, and hopefully for the better of their mutual friend in Kakeru. We'll see. And so yeah, otherwise it'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.